headed to trench lines, baby. Now, this is what is super interesting about this selection as well. I'm getting word from behind the scenes admins that the division elected to choose map, not side. They chose trench lines.
Really?
Squirtle Squad then said, oh, you guys chose trench lines? Cool. We're choosing defense. So you're going to see the division on attack on trench lines. What's going through your head?
Okay, well, obviously the division is like, hey, if we pick a map, we know they're going to give us attack because they're going to want to pick defense, right? Because of, what you just said. Hey, statistically, it's probably, you feel like defense.
In 100 lives, I think you're toast. This is going to be a tough one for the attack. So the division, I guess they're just going to try to prove that they actually are a super superior squad by making it a little bit of difficult for themselves. But who knows? They just like this map. Let's get into it.
You know how many times I've been on that last point, by the way, and I've called in a missile and it's hit that windmill right there? God, yeah. I hate that windmill. Anyway, we're going to be jumping right into the action. The division choosing to go ahead and pick the map trench lines, probably knowing that they were going to get attacked. So they've got to feel comfortable on the attack side. Squirtle Squad was like, hey, listen, you want to go ahead and pick the map? Fine. We'll go ahead. We'll pick the defense. They got to be feeling good. They just defended cracked, right? So the momentum kind of coming into this game, they got to be feeling confident in their defense.
I agree. I think this is best case scenario for Squirtle Squad. Let's see what they can do. And again, what we'll talk about metric for success on this one. You just win the map and you win your matchup and you move to the finals. That's how this works. If you are the winning team in Group A, you'll be making to the finals to play the winning team of Group B, which we'll do right after this. So a lot on the line, and everything that's happened is now completely behind you. It only matters about what's happening on this map. And it looks like Erica has decided to pull out a sniper for the very beginning of this one, trying to open things up for their team. Something else that happens here with trench lines, you start with a tank. And this tank is likely going to stay on this hilltop until going into finally taking point A. If you see this tank get on to point A at all, it's either a huge mistake or the point's basically already taken. They're moving forward on to B.
Yeah, I mean, you heard my distaste for trench lines, and that's going to be another thing, right? These tanks, when they spawn in on trench line, right? All of them, and whoever's driving the tank is going to sit so far back and just keep raining missiles on the entirety of the map. And it just feels like you really can't do anything because they can just sit so far away. And as we're saying that, right, the attack, it's coming in early right now. 173 tickets, right? They've barely been scratched, and the point is shifting in their favor.
Yeah. Tank getting a little bit more aggressive than usual. And like I said, if you're going to do this, it's either a mistake or you're basically taking the point already. And I think it's the latter. Now, this tank did get pretty weak. They're able to smoke it, and they've got engineers riding it, so should be able to heal it back up. Matt Freeze, our commander, back in the tank yet again. He found a lot of value on it in the last couple of maps, so he's going to maintain position in the vehicle and help his team take this point quickly. This is very well done from the attackers. As expected to some degree, but still very well done.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever played a map with trench lines where it was defended on the first point, right? So definitely, like you said, expected, but this fast, I feel like is a little bit crazy. Maybe, there's like, hey, just get it over with, just go ahead and take the point, like whatever, let's go to the trenches over there. But they are still trying to actually weasel the way back up to the point, right? As you can see, they have not captured the point yet, so the push is still coming in, and I think it's actually favoring the defense now. Yeah, they are recapturing it back in their favor.
Yeah, some pretty good hold. It did look like the attackers had quite a bit of units still back on the hilltop where the tank has elected to back up to maintain its life. And that's allowing their defense to come in with more numbers and start taking this point back a bit. But great angles here on some of the boxes. Some nice headies to be able to take down your opponents without losing your life. Watch out for Erickson, who's got the sniper on the hill. But other than that, so far so good. Ooh. Decent balance. The tank getting a lot of value, but got to be careful. This would be a huge disaster if Matt Freeze dies in that tank on point A.
I saw he was actually taking a lot of damage right there. You could see how aggressive he was getting all the way onto the other side of the point, actually. I believe the tank went down to about 40% HP, but was able to get out of there, and he is actually already back in the action. And that's going to be point A captured by the division.
Yeah, unfortunately, Zin, I think one of the last remaining bodies there to try to hold on. Squirtle Squad couldn't get much value out of point A. Metric for success, is you got to win the entire map, but the minor kind of wins, if you will, that you can find on this map are if you hold a point long enough that when they finally do take it, the attackers take it, they don't get all their lives back. Obviously not the case for point A. We'll see if point B is any different.
Yeah, straight back up to 180, right? So the attackers got to be feeling good about that one. That means they went ahead and captured that point very, very quickly. And as you can see right there, what's that? If I can do some quick math right there, it looks like there's at least 10 players kind of running up the river on the right side of the push.
Yep.
Probably have their eyes set on that B2 push.
Yeah, I really like this play. It's something we've seen in trench lines a couple times where you send a huge route of units up the riverside, kind of not even really in the trenches, on the outside of the trenches, to find an angle over here that's not actually held down. So you're seeing the attackers get a bunch of bodies into the trenches fairly uncontested with this route. And look, hey, if you're a Seneva fan, there have been some historical moments inside these trenches with Seneva Operator. Pull out that shield, hold it down, and maybe line up 15 players and beat them all down. It's been done before. And I want to say it was actually done by a couple members of a couple different squads, but one of those squads is the Bear team that is playing in this game right now. So who knows? Might see some more Senevas as we get into the trenches.
B2 was always such an impossible push, I feel like, for me, whenever I play these matches, and they kind of just walked onto it, and it looks like they've got some very, very strong foothold to go ahead and actually capture this as a one very, very early on. So great job by the team here. Phoenix Hype was actually in a great spot to go ahead and pick off a lot of the defenders. I like that head glitch that was kind of towards that one side over there where they actually come from. So that was a great spot for him. And yeah, looks like B2 going to be suffering some early captures from the attacking side. As I say that, it starts to go the other way.
Yeah, they're getting a lot of pressure on it for sure. We'll see if they're able to actually execute on it. The problem is you're seeing B1 also be taken at the same time. It looks like our tank friend, who usually hangs off in the distance, has elected to get a little bit more active. And it's going to swing over. And they're doing a pretty similar strategy to what they did on B1 and B2 of Cracked. Or C1, C2 rather. Wasn't perfectly executed, but this one's seemingly done a bit better. The tank and a couple players on one, and a majority of the players on the other. And then if B2 gets thwarted, everybody swarms on B1 quickly before the defense can respond. So nearly perfectly executed. Here's the problem. We've lost our tank. No, okay, it's still alive. I saw it go gray for a second. I got scared.
Still alive, still healthy. It did take a couple of rockets right there. It did go down to about half HP, but it is just going to back up in it. So many of those little hills on trench lines makes it almost impossible to go ahead and take advantage of opportunities like that. But the tug of war, as Goj explained it, we saw an early push over towards B2. The defenders were forced to go ahead and respond unless they wanted to lose it. And as a result, nobody was really left to go ahead and defend B1. So that was going to be an easy take, especially with the help of the tank. Matt Freeze going to be the operator of that one again. And it looks like he's got what looks like to be at least one, maybe two engineers that are kind of dedicating themselves to go ahead and keep him healthy.
Yeah, this is not even a strategy anymore. This is a must. If you're playing Warfare at any sort of competitive level, you've got to have engineers on your vehicles to keep them up, because everybody knows how to kill a vehicle. It's a lot harder to kill a vehicle if they're constantly being healed by multiple engineers. And like you saw briefly from some of these players, you can even go prone on top of the tank and just sit there blowtorching it.
Interesting here, though. So B1 was captured, and not what feels like even a minute later, B2 is also getting captured. So a great transition from the division to actually take the big brunt force of their attack and quickly go ahead and establish a foothold over B2.
Yep. Yeah, I totally agree. Matt is getting so much value out of that tank, too. Now that he's in a position where he doesn't feel threatened sitting on top of B1, he can just shell this point, and anybody that moves out of the trenches is going to get obliterated.
I mean, you could see right over the top of the trenches. I keep seeing rockets kind of fly past. They're definitely going towards the tank, but unless you kind of synchronize like a bunch of rockets from your engineers at the same time, I mean, the engineers that are kind of healing that tank up back there are just way too valuable. They're kind of out healing that damage, and there it is. The B objectives are going to be captured, and I don't think enough tickets was kind of, you know, impacted there for them to be any less than 180. Again, I feel like they're going to be a fresh attacking squad going into C. And yeah, there it is, 180 tickets fresh to go towards C.
Yeah, no, it's a great call out. And again, that's a huge loss for the defense. Right now, the only thing they really are trying to do is make sure the attackers don't go into point E with max tickets, max lives. That's the key, because point E is going to be extremely hard to capture in theory. You spawn, the defense basically spawns in the point almost. It's extremely difficult to take. But right now, this is an utter domination by the division, and I've only seen point C take longer than like 45 seconds, maybe twice out of the like 20 times we've seen it in Delta Force Global League. So I can imagine this point will go pretty quickly. D1 and D2 are really the litmus test on how difficult point E will even be.
Yeah, I mean, C is kind of, you know, go back to Cracked, right? Where you were kind of mentioning how the hangar, you can kind of destroy the hangar and kind of blow it up, right? All of these houses that kind of the defensive side wants to utilize to defend C, yeah, I mean, the tank can just kind of blow them all up, really. So the angles that the defense side ends up having towards the later, you know, stages of defending C, it's almost done, makes it very, very difficult. And, you know, you have two vehicles, the tank obviously still alive right there. You can see another vehicle rolling around for the attacking side right there. And, you know what I mean? What's a cliff to a vehicle?
That was amazing. This guy, whoever's running the IFV there, is trying to play it like normal. Just run and gun, sprint off the side of the mountain, take some shots on the way down. Nice play, but yeah, you're right. Taking over these buildings is pretty easy. There's a lot of openings to them, especially when the tank shells them a couple times. Should be able to walk in and take this point no problem. Again, to have any real value on this point, you're gonna have to decrease lives to like 115 maybe, and that there's no chance that's happening. C is crumbling literally and figuratively under the defensive grass. They're gonna back up and plan for D1, D2.
Yeah, that was quick. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of looked up to check on the ticket health of the attacking side, and 150 is actually lower than I thought it was gonna be. I feel like it's been a very fast scene. I'm like, oh wow, they've actually, you know, taken out about 30 of them. I'm not even sure when that happened, but yeah, as you can see right here, the defense right now is not finding much success, but Goj, the very experienced man himself, is calling upon the defense towards D1 and D2. So I have hopes myself for Squirtle Squad. We'll have to see, though.
Yeah, I have hopes for him as well. I will say B1 and B2 usually take longer, so it's getting me a little scared. I'm a little scared going into D1 and D2. Obviously not trenches, a different type of point to play for, but still a double-sided point. Tug of war could absolutely happen there. It's basically the lumber yard, and then it's kind of trenches, little mini trenches on the other side for D2, but still, let's see how they do. Now, the usual big hold for D1 is this hilltop, basically.
Yeah.
If you're able to control this hilltop, which is essentially right on the front side of the point, and keep the attackers spawning in from the low side, you can actually find a lot of value on this point. So it does look like the defense is going to prio maintaining position on D1 as well and not totally giving it up, which I think is the right move. Got to be careful with some of these routemen on the left side, though. See where they go.
Yeah, I was going to say, as you were saying that, right, the hill is important. I already see attackers on top of the hill. D1's actually getting captured, right? It's losing some of that green in that D1 square up there already. So the hill's gone. I don't know what just happened. Usually that hill's like impossible, it feels like to me, like you were mentioning. But yeah, D1 is already under attack right there. You would imagine the vehicles were kind of playing a part right there. I'm not gonna lie, I was gonna go ahead and mention that I did see off in the distance Squirtle Squad. I thought I saw Wormy in a vehicle, and I was like, oh, okay, nice, they're gonna get some progress kind of going here, but I don't think I see him anywhere anymore, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, it does look like... Yeah, I think there he is. So it does look like the defense does have a vehicle, but the attackers have two. It actually looks like one of our players is elected to get in the AA gun. All right, respect. Throw some shells down range, see if you can get value out of it. Hopefully that's not a troll.
Hail Marys, you know. Yeah. Hail Marys never hurt nobody. Please hit something. All right, so D2 now. Yeah, D2 is definitely a tough one as well, right? Kind of what feels like similar esque, but obviously you're closer to your respawn fight of that cracked kind of B1 layout, right? Where you're kind of in an encampment. So kind of hard for infantry to kind of push into there. But it looks like, you know, again, these players are very, very good. They're used to kind of funneling into that. So like, hey, listen, I don't want to funnel in just towards the point. We're going to go around the side, and that's just been the name of the game over and over and over again for the division.
Yeah, the other thing that I'm noticing on the division side, especially Ale here on your screen, I'd be really curious to know scores. Ale is picking up so much value per life. I mean, we talk about these situations where we talk about macro on the team, but when you see an individual like this pick up, what is this, 6, 7 kills in one life? 1v multiple situations finally getting cut down there. I mean, that is huge value add for your team in just terms of raw numbers of where you are. Like making those flanks and making hero plays like that, picking up 5, 6 kills in a single life can't be understated how important that is.
Yeah, it's one of those things, right, where you're playing a 20v20 mode. It's giant, you know what I mean? There's vehicles everywhere, and you feel like sometimes it doesn't matter if you get like 10 kills. It doesn't feel like you make any progress, right? But of course, in this kind of environment where your team is always ready to take some of the space that you would go ahead and establish. You can see, right? All of those kills they kind of picked up on the right side over there. Look how many attackers are now over there, like 7, 8 of them.
Yep.
So that space instantly being taken advantage of by some of these more competitive players. They know when they can kind of go ahead and pick and choose the right spots. And, you know, D1's been captured. D2, they're closing in. It's only been 30 tickets used up so far. Man, the division, they just look too good.
Yeah, they look really, really strong. Now we're seeing quite a bit of value coming in through from Mr. Wormy yet again in the vehicle. This is a fight he has to win. If Lobot can get cut down outside of his tank because of this tank destroyer that Wormy's in, all of a sudden we could see a hold here that is more reminiscent of C2 and C1 at the end of Cracked. But vehicle's got to go down. Now I'm seeing a lot of green, and I'm seeing a lot of the Syndicate. Mr. Wormy, chicka chicka boom boom. Okay. Also Zen himself, Randy Savage there picking up Lobot. Lobot down means tank is down. The Syndicate doing God's work for their team, wiping a vehicle and wiping an important team off the map. They are holding on to G2.
There it is, right? And yeah, right after that happens, right? If you keep your eye up towards that top right side of your screen, it's all green. Like that feels like instant momentum shift for Squirtle Squad right there. Again, you know, we kind of mentioned it on Crash in game number 2. Wormy, I felt like him destroying the tank was boom. Yes, we can go ahead and defend this. Again, Wormy, with the help of Randy Savage, kind of coming in off of the rocket. Boom, tank's gone. It seems like they started to pick up, you know, kills, and just like that. It was like, what, like a minute ago, Goose? I was like, oh, man, they're at like 150 tickets. They're looking good.
Yeah.
They're at 120, less than 120.
Yeah, you can see now the defense has 2 vehicles. They've got their tank, and it's way up there on the hill. The tank is actually all the way on point E already, playing the backline, just shelling this hilltop, because this is the other position that you can see from way over there. They've got the high ground, and so they're going to do it. Now, classic Warfare fashion, people are calling vehicles in. Can you shoot it down before it hits the ground? The answer is yes. All of a sudden, Squirtle Squad is coming online.
Great work there. Great, you know, awareness to go ahead and make sure that, hey, we were getting dominated by the vehicles. These guys, they started the map with a tank. If we can just go ahead and break that, we have a great shot, and making sure that it stays that way. You know, keep us in the vehicle advantage right now. It's looking good now for Squirtle Squad.
Copy. Vehicle drop to designated location.
Yeah, and we're getting to a point in the game that's gone long enough that you're going to start seeing some of these support systems called in. You're going to see those artillery barrages come in. You're going to probably see the urgent redeployment coming in from the commanders as well. Ooh. I would assume we may even get a guided missile on this map if we can hold on long enough. Now, it looks like Zen, Wormy, Randy Savage still all playing together, finding a lot of kills. So far, so good.
Again, I mean, the tickets are they are just getting destroyed right now. I mean, my eyes have kind of been peeled towards that top right of the screen, and I'm not gonna lie, I feel like it's been like a minute. I think maybe there's been like 5 total attacking kills. Like, it has just been all defense.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. And look at that, even another attacking vehicle going down because of the tank shelling from distance. Wormy's driving through without a care in the world, blasting some tunes, some jams, and just having a dang good time.
What a turn of the tides here. It was seeming like it was going to be a clean sweep. Goes, you know, again, with the experience in the warfare, it was like, hey, D1 and D2, keep your eyes on that. That's going to be the telltale test. And, you know, but, you know, we mentioned, hey, D1 the hill, that feels like the most important part. They lost that quick, and it did not matter. D2 has been the strong point for the Squirtle squad right now, down to 70 tickets. So more than half of the progress has been made for the defensive side. Now I see it off in the distance, though. The tank is finally back for the division, right? They have that tank reestablished. Can they do anything with it?
It looks like they found some value out of it. One vehicle goes down on the side of the defense, and now finally a push coming through. Lying in wait, working together. They've opened the hole a little bit so that they can try to climb into this point. The problem is Wormy's still up, and he is still getting a ton of value from this tank destroyer. There's a massive grouping of units there on the outside. We got to pay attention to the kill feed, make sure we don't miss it. I think he was able to stay up and drive out as we are getting some action on both points now.
I mean, that was huge right there, right? Matt Freeze was the one in the tank again. He went ahead and just ran that point towards D2, and I was like, wait. I mean, that's not playing the long game at all, right? They lost our tank instantly, but the amount of troops that were right behind that tank, ready to flood the point, was incredible. Shout out to the team. There must have been some great comms coming out right there to go ahead and make that synchronized push happen, because look at this. Yeah, the tank got instantly blown up, but they have all of the bodies needed to go ahead and capture D2. Now goes, they've got to win the tug of war. D1 is being taken by the defenders, but not that fast.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. They got to make a move on both points right now. They got to throw everything on it, and an urgent deployment time remaining has been thrown down. So you can see 34-second on that time, which means an urgent deployment has started. People are flooding to these points, and we're seeing a ton of green as they're finally working their way back into the point. And in the final moments, holding on D1 and D2, a tank moves on to the point and says, fine, I'll do it myself. Drives up and gonna sit on this point. You're gonna have to go through me if you want to take this point. And you're seeing the defense slowly whittle their way back to making sure that they could win it. They could win it right here. They don't even need point E. They're gonna win on D.
They definitely could, right? But it's going to be hard. That tank is going to be pretty tough. And you can see right there, Mr. Wormy and Savage, they got 4 out of 4 in the vehicle right there. They're going to be looking to go ahead and stop this push right now. It's going to be all but infantry for the side of the division right there. Now, not going to have the backup that they once had of the vehicles right there. They did get one. That's going to be the tank down. Is that going to be enough?
It was a great use of the magnetic bombs. You saw some of our infantry shooting off the engineer so that the tank would become vulnerable, and then multiple magnetic bombs land on top of it from Virons, and all of a sudden it's gone. Now Wormy going to be the lone survivor inside of a vehicle, getting extremely active on D2. Attackers have restabilized D1, and they're making what could be and will be their final push. You've got to get Wormy out of this tank destroyer, and you got to do it right now if you want a chance to win this competition. This is for the win. Wormy goes down, and opening on D2, bodies have got to be on the point. Both teams know it, and now we've got 2 lines of defense and 2 lines of the attack, and we've got 1 vehicle, an IFV on the attacking side, getting into the mix because it has to. It's going to risk and likely lose its life, but it's going to cause enough disturbance to try to find some value with the other bodies that they can get onto the point. You can see them now right underneath the flag.
As this capture was coming in, though, I did see vehicles kind of parachuting down in the distance, right? The attacking side is going to have some reinforcements in terms of vehicles coming in very, very soon after that one did just get blown up. So D2 could be under siege here. It looks fine right now.
Oh, no.
The vehicles
we ran
that were
out.
coming in, they couldn't get there in time. Goes Squirtle squad, the Benz.
Unbelievable. Just ran out of time. I was watching it as well. Vehicles were coming in. We finally had enough score to call more things in. The problem was we did not have enough lives. How on earth, after watching the first round of
squad that is going to the grand finals, we will see them compete next weekend. Again, congratulations. We do know, as we saw earlier, the division, they will not be walking home empty-handed. They, of course, have that $1,000 for their entire team to go ahead and split up. So again, congratulations to you guys. And you know, Goes, not to kind of pick on them a little bit here, kind of throw that question mark out in the air, but you gotta kind of maybe talk about the fact that, hey, for game number 3, you guys had the advantage. You went ahead and decided to pick the map instead of decide. Was that the deciding factor on this one right there? I don't know. We'll have to see if that decision right there kind of looms over and helps influence Group B when we see that.
Yeah.